My name is Natalie Walker, and I'm 35 years old. For 10 years, I was the woman who made our office feel human. I wasn't paid for it. It wasn't in my job description. Nobody ever asked me to do it. I just did. I remembered birthdays. I ordered cakes with inside jokes written in frosting. I bought decorations from discount stores and stayed late, hanging streamers across gray cubicle walls. I organized Secret Santa every December and handwrote cards because I thought people deserved something personal. I knew that Linda from accounting couldn't eat gluten. I knew Pam hated surprise parties. I knew Holly loved eucalyptus-scented lotions because she'd mentioned it once in passing while we were waiting for the copier. I drove to 3 different stores one Saturday just to find those lotions. Nobody told me to. I simply believed that making people feel seen mattered. Looking back now, maybe I needed to feel needed. Maybe that's why I kept doing it. Because every time someone smiled over a cupcake or laughed at a silly office game, I felt like I'd contributed something meaningful. I thought I was helping build a family. Turns out I was just providing a free service. And nobody notices free services until they disappear. Everything changed in February. Corporate rolled out a new policy, requiring us to log our hours down to the minute. Every break, every arrival, every departure. Everyone hated it. The group chat exploded. Complaints poured in nonstop. One afternoon, I was on the phone with Tina from HR. Tina could turn a missing stapler into a national emergency. And she was absolutely furious about the new rules. "This place gets more ridiculous every year," she said. I laughed softly. "I know. But honestly, it could be worse." "You always say that." "Because it's usually true." We talked for another few minutes, and hung up. I didn't realize my office door was cracked open. I didn't realize someone had heard only my side of the conversation. 3 days later, my manager, Greg, sent me a meeting invitation. I assumed it was about the Valentine's fundraiser I'd helped organize. Instead, he had an evaluation form sitting on his desk. Every category read, "Meets expectations. Not one exceeds. Not even under team morale." I stared at the paper, honestly confused. Greg folded his hands. "I've noticed a shift in your attitude lately." "My attitude? People look to you. Natalie, you're influential around here." I blinked. He continued, "I overheard part of your conversation with Tina. Rather than redirecting her concerns to leadership, you appeared to encourage negativity." I actually thought he was joking. I encouraged negativity? I'm concerned this kind of behavior can create a toxic environment. Toxic. The word hit me like a slap. Toxic. I remembered spending my own money on holiday gift bags. I remembered staying 2 extra hours to decorate for a retirement party. I remembered baking brownies at midnight, because I wanted someone's birthday to feel special. And now, I was toxic. I sat there silently. Greg kept talking, but his words sounded far away. Disappointing. Influence. Culture. Leadership. I heard all of it. And none of it. I nodded. Then I walked out. I don't even remember driving home. I just remember lying on my couch, staring at the ceiling, while my cat knocked over my soda. I should have been angry. Instead, I felt tired. So incredibly tired. 10 years. 10 years. Of giving pieces of myself away, and apparently none of it mattered. I thought about every cupcake, every card, every dollar, every Sunday afternoon spent shopping for office celebrations. I thought about how nobody had ever offered to help. Nobody had ever asked how much I spent. Nobody had ever said, "You don't have to keep doing this." Because they expected me to. I wasn't a coworker anymore. I was a service. A machine that produced happiness. And machines don't get appreciation. They get maintenance requests. I sat up slowly. My apartment was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you hear things you normally ignore. The ticking clock. The refrigerator humming. My own breathing. And then I said it aloud. I'm done. Not with my job. I still liked my work. I still cared about my clients. but I was done giving away pieces of myself for free. No more cakes. No more decorations. No more personalized gifts. No more planning. No more emotional labor. If they wanted office culture, someone else could build it. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about what event was coming next. I wasn't making shopping lists. I wasn't brainstorming themes. I simply sat there. And strangely enough, I felt lighter. I had no idea that my little decision was about to throw the entire office into chaos, or that the people who barely noticed my efforts were about to discover exactly how much I'd been carrying all along. March arrived. And for the first time in 10 years, I didn't bring cupcakes for the monthly birthday lunch. I walked into the break room carrying my turkey sandwich and sat quietly at the corner table. Everyone kept glancing at the empty counter. No cake, no balloons, no handwritten birthday cards, just fluorescent lights and awkward silence. Pam, whose birthday we were supposedly celebrating, finally laughed nervously. So, are we just eating lunch? Nobody answered. I took a bite of my sandwich. For years, I had filled every silence before it could become uncomfortable. I'd make a speech, hand out desserts, start a game. This time, I let the silence stay, and it was amazing how loud it became. A few days later, Facilities Appreciation Week rolled around. Normally, this was my thing. I used to put together elaborate gift baskets with coffee, snacks, little thank you notes, and silly novelty socks. I'd spend my Sunday arranging everything so the maintenance team would know someone appreciated them. This year, nothing. Monday morning, I walked into the break room. The table was empty. No decorations, no cards, no gifts. The facility staff came in and out all day, and not one person even mentioned the appreciation week. I felt guilty, not because I had done something wrong, but because I knew those employees deserved better. Then I reminded myself of something important. I wasn't responsible for carrying everyone's kindness. If the entire company forgot these people existed the moment I stepped back, that wasn't my failure. It was theirs. By Wednesday, Greg sent an email. Let's all remember to thank our wonderful facilities team this week. Stop by the break room and leave notes of appreciation. I almost laughed. The break room looked like an abandoned airport terminal. One old box of crackers sat on the counter. The coffee machine had an out-of-order sign taped to it. There wasn't a single thank you note in sight. A few coworkers began fishing. Diane stopped by my desk. So, are you doing something later this week? No. She blinked. Oh. That was all she said. Another coworker messaged me. Should I buy a card or something? I replied. Not this year. Sorry. No explanation. No apology. By Friday, people were getting irritated. Not at me. At the situation. Our weekly morale meeting was painfully uncomfortable. Greg started talking about teamwork and company culture. Then he said something that made everyone sit up. It's disappointing when traditions fall through the cracks, because certain individuals aren't as invested as they once were. Nobody looked at him. Everyone looked at me. I kept sipping my iced coffee. I didn't react. The meeting ended. A few minutes later, Pam appeared in my office doorway. She looked almost concerned. Hey, everything okay? I smiled politely. Fine. Just focusing on work? She stood there for another second, then nodded and walked away. I knew what she wanted. She wanted the old Natalie back, the one who fixed everything, but that woman was tired. The following Monday, I received a calendar invite from HR. Mandatory one-on-one. Isaihu. Here we go. When I entered the conference room, Brooke from HR was waiting. She smelled like vanilla, as always, and looked almost nervous. Thanks for meeting with me, she said. No problem. She folded her hands. There have been concerns about team morale and passive disengagement. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. She looked startled. I'm sorry, I said. Passive disengagement. Leadership has noticed you've withdrawn from team building activities. I stared at her. My job performance is suffering. No. My clients are unhappy. No. My work is late. No. She hesitated. But your participation in office culture has significantly decreased. I leaned back in my chair. I wasn't aware buying cupcakes and organizing parties was part of my job description. Silence. A long silence. Finally, she said, "Well, unofficial responsibilities sometimes develop naturally." I almost smiled. Do unofficial responsibilities come with official compensation? More silence. The air conditioner hummed above us. Brooke cleared her throat. People really look up to you. Natalie. When you pull back, it affects everyone. I nodded slowly. Then I said the thing I'd been carrying for weeks. I've been stepping up for 10 years. She said nothing. I spent my own money, my weekends, my energy. Nobody helped. Nobody offered. She looked down at her notes. And the one time I stopped, I got called a bad influence. Her head snapped up. What? I met her eyes. My manager gave me a negative evaluation because he overheard half of a private conversation and decided I was creating toxicity. She looked genuinely surprised. I continued. If the entire office falls apart because one employee stopped baking cupcakes, maybe the problem isn't me. Silence again. This time, it lasted nearly a minute. Finally, Brooke quietly said, "I understand." But I wasn't sure she did. The meeting ended awkwardly. I walked out feeling strangely calm. As I passed the break room, I noticed the Facilities Appreciation Week flyer, still taped beside the coffee machine. Nobody had touched it. I pulled it down and threw it in the trash. That was that. Or so I thought. That afternoon, Greg walked by my office twice. He didn't say anything. He just peeked inside. It was almost like he expected me to suddenly announce a surprise pizza party. I ignored him. Then, Friday arrived. At 3 in the afternoon, an email hit. Everyone's inbox. New initiative, rotational morale responsibilities. I blinked. Then I opened the attachment. A calendar. An actual calendar. Every employee had been assigned dates to organize birthdays, appreciation events, and office celebrations. I nearly choked on my coffee. The group chat exploded. Are we seriously doing this? I don't know how to plan events. Why do I have 2 months? Wait, Greg is assigned August. I stared at the screen. There it was. Greg's name, August. I laughed so hard. Tears came to my eyes. The man who had criticized me for years of free labor had just volunteered himself to do exactly what I'd been doing. I had a feeling this was going to end badly. Very badly. And for the first time in months, I couldn't wait. August arrived, like a storm everyone could see coming. By then, the morale rotation schedule had become a running joke around the office. Some people tried, some didn't, but everyone had one thing in common. They suddenly understood how much work went into all those little celebrations I'd been organizing for 10 years. And then, it became Greg's turn. The funny thing, he forgot. Completely. Thursday afternoon. I was in the break room grabbing a Diet Coke when Greg walked in. He looked unusually cheerful. So, he said, looking around, "What's the plan for next week?" I took a sip, said nothing. The room went quiet. Finally, Pam looked up from her phone. "I think you're up next." The color drained from Greg's face. "Oh," he said, forcing a laugh. "Right. Just testing everyone." Nobody believed him. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to stop myself from smiling. Monday came. Nothing happened. No email, no decorations, no schedule. The break room looked exactly the same. Tuesday was somehow worse. Greg showed up carrying a single box of donuts from a gas station. Not a bakery. Not even the nice grocery store donuts. Gas station donuts. He left them at the front desk. By the time most employees arrived, only 2 stale glazed donuts remained. Someone whispered behind me, "Is this it?" I nearly laughed. For years, I'd made custom cupcakes, bought decorations, and printed little signs. Greg brought $6 worth of donuts. Wednesday was team lunch day. At noon, several large sandwich boxes appeared in the break room. No labels, no drinks, no plates, no napkins, just sandwiches. People gathered around, looking confused. Which one is vegetarian? I don't know. Does this have turkey? No idea. Someone finally asked Greg. He looked at the boxes. I think the lighter ones are turkey. The room burst into laughter. Even I couldn't help smiling. I remembered spending hours creating labels for food allergies and dietary restrictions. Greg pointed at sandwiches and guessed, by Wednesday afternoon, office morale was somehow lower than before Morale Week even started. Then someone posted a meme in the group chat. It was a picture of a sad little birthday party with one balloon and a hot dog. Greg's face had been edited onto it. The caption read, "Morale improved." I laughed so hard, I almost spilled my drink. Then came Thursday, the disaster. Greg announced a surprise team-building activity. An office scavenger hunt. I stared at the email. Surely not. Unfortunately, I was wrong. He had printed riddles from the internet and hidden clues throughout the office. Where do you go when nature calls? Where knowledge sleeps? Look beneath where leaders sit. Within 15 minutes, grown adults were crawling under desks and opening cabinets. One employee from operations looked horrified. I have a deadline. Greg smiled. It's optional, but encouraged. Everyone knew what that meant. Mandatory. The chaos escalated quickly. Someone climbed onto a chair trying to reach behind a cabinet. Another person was searching the copy room. Then, crash. A filing cabinet tipped over. The noise echoed through the entire floor. 2 people from another department rushed upstairs because they thought someone had been injured. The scavenger hunt ended immediately. 30 minutes later, HR sent out a company-wide email reminding everyone about workplace safety and unauthorized activities. I stared at the message in disbelief. I couldn't have invented something this ridiculous if I tried. Then, Friday came. The final day. Greg scheduled a coffee and culture chat at 9:30. At no patruzeci. He finally appeared, carrying his own coffee. And nothing else? No coffee for anyone. No pastries. No snacks. Just his personal drink. I looked around the room. Everyone looked exhausted. Greg sat on the edge of the counter. I think workplace happiness is something we all need to prioritize. Silence. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on improving culture. More silence. Then something incredible happened. Cole spoke. Now. Cole was one of those employees who never caused problems. Quiet. Reliable. Almost invisible. In 10 years, I could count on one hand how many times I'd heard him raise his voice. He folded his arms. This is the worst morale week we've ever had. The room froze. Greg blinked. Well, I did my best. Cole looked directly at him. If this was your best, then I owe Natalie an apology. No one moved. No one breathed. Then he continued. We all took her for granted. My stomach tightened. I never realized how much work she was doing until this week. Someone nodded. Then another. And another. Holly from payroll actually clapped. I thought I might cry. Not because I wanted praise, but because for the first time, people saw it. Really saw it. Greg looked horrified. He muttered something about reassessing the program and practically fled the room. As soon as he left, people surrounded me. I had no idea. You did all this by yourself. I'm sorry. Pam hugged me. Cole handed me a $10 coffee gift card. I know it's not much, he said. I smiled. It means a lot. And it really did. Because, after 10 years, someone finally said, thank you. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The following week, I received another meeting invitation from Greg. I entered his office and sat down. He looked uncomfortable. For once, he didn't seem confident. I wanted to talk about everything that's happened, he said. I nodded. There's been a lot of feedback. I waited. He cleared his throat. I think there may have been some misunderstandings. There it was. The corporate apology, without the actual apology. I folded my hands. Is this meeting about morale events? He hesitated. Partially. Or is this about the free work I stopped doing? He blinked. Silence. Then he sighed. I think your efforts had a very positive impact on this department. I almost laughed. For months. I had been a bad influence. Now I had a positive impact. Interesting. When that disappeared, he continued carefully. It created a void. I looked at him. A void. He nodded. I leaned back. That void existed long before I stopped. I was just filling it. Silence. Then he said something that changed everything. Upper management has noticed a decline in our morale scores. I stared at him. Our department's culture metrics have dropped significantly. And suddenly, I understood. All those years, all those parties, all those celebrations, all those little things I'd done, they hadn't just made coworkers happy. They had made Greg look good. I was improving his numbers, improving his reputation. And now his scores were falling apart. He wasn't asking for help. He was asking me to save him. I looked him straight in the eyes. Are you offering me a raise? He looked stunned. Well, not exactly. Then, what exactly are you asking for? We can revisit your evaluation next quarter. I laughed. Actually laughed. You called me a bad influence? He opened his mouth. You punished me for doing exactly what you're asking me to do again. Silence. You don't get to insult my efforts and then ask me to save your performance metrics. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because I was right. I stood. Anything else? No. I smiled politely. Then, I have work to do. I walked out of his office feeling lighter than I had in months. I didn't know it then, but my life was about to change completely. Because someone else had also noticed the falling morale scores, someone with the power to do something about it. The following Wednesday, I got another email from Brooke in HR. Can you stop by my office when you have a minute? Isaihu. Honestly, I expected another lecture. Instead, I walked into her office and found her smiling. There were no printed evaluations, no awkward expressions, no warnings, just her. Have a seat. Natalie. I sat down. She turned her monitor toward me. On the screen was a graph. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I noticed the title, Employee Morale Trends. Last 18 months. There was a long, steady line. Then, right around February, the line dropped off a cliff. I blinked. Brooke folded her hands. We've been reviewing some department data. I looked at her. And your name keeps coming up. I frowned. She smiled. Not in a bad way. She explained that upper management had been investigating why employee engagement had fallen so dramatically. Participation numbers were down. Satisfaction surveys had declined. Even cross-department collaboration had decreased. And every road seemed to lead back to one thing. Me. Or, more specifically, everything I had quietly stopped doing. I sat there speechless. For 10 years, I thought nobody noticed. Apparently, people had noticed more than I realized. Brooke clicked to another slide. We've been discussing a new position. I raised an eyebrow. A pilot program. I waited. She smiled again. Culture coordinator. I nearly laughed. It sounded ridiculously corporate. Like a title invented during a brainstorming session, with too much coffee, but then she continued. It would include a 15% salary increase. I sat up. There would also be an event budget. I blinked. And you'd report directly to HR. I stared at her. Not to Greg. Not to my department. To HR. For several seconds. I couldn't speak. Then I asked quietly. You want to pay me to do what I've been doing for free? She nodded. We want to recognize the value you've been providing. I looked at the graph again. The sharp decline. The empty break room. The disastrous morale week. The scavenger hunt. the gas station donuts. All of it suddenly felt worth it, because for the first time, someone saw it. Someone actually understood. I swallowed hard. I need 24 hours. Of course. I left her office in a daze. That night, I sat on my couch with my cat sleeping beside me. I thought about the last 10 years. Every cupcake, every birthday, every gift bag, every late night, every dollar I had spent. I thought about all the times I felt invisible. And then I thought about the offer. For years, I'd convinced myself that appreciation didn't matter, that I was doing it because I cared. But the truth was, everyone wants to feel valued. Everyone wants to know their effort means something. And for the first time, mine did. The next morning, I made my decision. I accepted. Before the official announcement went out, I walked to Greg's office. I didn't knock. He looked up from his computer. For some reason, he seemed nervous. "Everything okay?" he asked. I smiled. "Actually, yes." I sat down. "I wanted to let you know personally that I've accepted the culture coordinator position." Silence. He blinked. "What?" "I'll be reporting directly to HR starting next week." His face lost all color. For a second, he looked genuinely shocked. "Oh." He finally said, "Yep." I stood. "I figured you should hear it from me before the company announcement." He stared at his desk. I don't know if he was angry, embarrassed, or realizing exactly what this meant. Because this wasn't just me getting promoted. This was him losing the one thing that had been holding his department together. I smiled politely. "Have a good day, Greg." I walked out. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. Monday morning, the announcement email went out. My inbox exploded. "Congratulations. About time. You deserve this." One message from legal simply said, "Finally." Another from operations read, "We all knew how much you did. Glad someone listened." Tina sent 3 separate emails and approximately 20 exclamation points. Cole sent a thumbs up emoji. From Cole, that was basically a standing ovation. Even people I barely knew stopped by my desk. For the first time in years, I felt appreciated. Not because people wanted another cupcake, not because they needed another party, but because they respected what I'd built. As for Greg, he looked like a completely different person. At the next company meeting, he sat in the back. Someone jokingly asked whether the morale rotation calendar would continue. He quietly said the program was being discontinued. Nobody argued. Nobody cared. 2 months later, I settled into my new role, and honestly, I loved it. I had a budget. I had support. I had volunteers. People who helped with events, received extra time off vouchers, and recognition. Imagine that. People were actually rewarded for their efforts. I no longer stayed up until midnight baking. I no longer spent my weekends shopping for decorations. I only baked if I wanted to. And somehow, the events became even better. Because now, it wasn't one exhausted woman carrying everything on her shoulders. It was a team. People participated because they wanted to, not because they assumed someone else would handle it. Sometimes I sit in meetings and people ask for my opinion. They write down my ideas. They thank me. It's still strange, but I'm getting used to it. As for Greg, we've barely spoken. Sometimes we pass each other in the hallway. He nods. I nod back. And that's it. No apology. No explanation. Maybe there never will be one. Honestly, I don't need it anymore. Because the biggest lesson I learned wasn't about office culture. It wasn't about management. And it wasn't about recognition. It was this. When you spend years carrying everything for everyone, people start believing you'll do it forever. The moment you stop, they finally see the weight you were carrying. I didn't destroy the system. I simply stepped away from it. And the fact that it collapsed, that was never my responsibility. Sometimes the only way people understand your value is by experiencing your absence. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is stop giving away pieces of your life for free. I still make birthdays special. I still care about people. I still believe kindness matters. The difference now, I know my kindness has value. And so do they?